friends, welcome back to my Southern Rustic Kitchen, and welcome if you are new. This week I've got some delicious meal ideas for you, so let's head on into the kitchen and let's make some delicious meals. So starting this week out, I am making a Mollier recipe. I've made this on my channel before. It is so good, it's so easy. So I'm making her salmon rice bowls. It's very easy. I will leave the link to her recipe in the description box down below for you guys. But yeah, this is what we're having for dinner tonight.
Get enough of love.
Alright, here is my bowl. I did not have any kale on hand. I did have some spinach, so I just sauteed up some spinach instead of the kale and kind of swapped that around a little bit, and then added some carrots, green onions, pickled onions, and some of her mayo that goes on the top. It was so good. Highly recommend you try this recipe. I will leave it linked in the description box below for you guys. So today I am making Mollier's brown rice congee. I ordered her new Home is Where the Eggs Are cookbook, and there's so many recipes in there that I want to try. But my daughter wasn't feeling well today, so I figured this brown rice congee would be delicious, and it was. But I'm just making this according to her directions in her recipe. I just added the broth, the rice, and her spices and everything in there, and let it cook for a good while, and then I just served it up.
You have to move on, deal with your broken heart. No matter what you think, you'll never ever get enough of love.
Alright, so here is my bowl. This was absolutely delicious. I had my doubts about it, but it turned out so good. I just added some of that brown rice congee in the bowl, topped it with some spicy kimchi. I had some sauteed spinach from the day before, so I added that. A soft boiled egg, some salt, pepper, and some sesame seeds, and a little bit of that Kewpie mayo. And this, you guys, was absolutely delicious. For today's dinner, I am making my easy beef and bean burritos. I'm going to start out by browning some ground beef and onions with a little bit of salt and pepper in a pan until the ground beef is cooked completely through and the onions are tender. Alright, now that the ground beef is cooked through and the onions are tender, if you have any excess grease from your beef, you can go ahead and drain that off. Then I'm just going to add in my spices. I'm adding in some salt, pepper, oregano, chili powder, cumin. I think that's it, but I will leave the recipe to this linked down in the description box for you guys below, so you can make this for you and your family. So we're going to get that in the pan and let that toast up for just a few minutes, like 1 or 2 minutes. Now that that is all nice and toasty, I'm going to go in and add a can of red enchilada sauce and just kind of mix that up. Turn my heat down to low, and I'm going to let this simmer for about 5 minutes or so, just until it thickens up. Now here I've just got some refried beans. You can use any brand you like. I've just added a little bit of milk to thin it out and some cheddar cheese, and I'm going to stir this around, melt that cheese, and then this is ready to go. Alright, now let's assemble these burritos. What you're going to do is you're going to take a large burrito size burrito tortilla. You're going to add a little bit of your refried beans to the bottom, add some of the ground beef mixture on top, and then you're just going to fold the sides over and roll it up. And then you're going to place this in a greased 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Alright, now that we have them all assembled in our baking dish here, you're going to take a jar of tomatillo salsa. You can use a regular salsa here. I just love the flavor that the tomatillo salsa gives. You're just going to add however much of this that you want on the top of your burritos. You can add the whole jar, you can add half a jar, whatever you want, and then you're just going to top that with however much cheese that you want. I've just got some cheddar cheese here that I'm going to add on the top. Once I get all of that on there, I'm going to bake this at 350 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, just until that cheese is nice and melted. While I was making the beef mixture and the refried bean mixture on the stovetop, I went ahead and seasoned up my potatoes for my Fiesta potatoes. So to my bowl here, I've just got some regular potatoes that I washed really well, and I diced them into small cubes. I'm going to add some flour, cornstarch, salt, pepper, chili powder, paprika, cumin, and a little bit of cayenne pepper, and I'm going to mix that around. You're going to put this on a lined baking sheet. You're going to put this in the oven for 20 minutes. You're going to toss it around. You're going to put it back in the oven for another 20 minutes until they are nice and tender and they are golden brown. Then just remove them to a plate and they are ready to go. Now that I have both the burritos and the potatoes in the oven baking, I'm going to go ahead and make my cheese sauce. This is just a super simple cheese sauce. I'm going to start out by adding a little bit of neutral oil to my pot here. I'm going to add in some flour. I'm going to whisk that and let that cook for just about 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to add in some salt and pepper, give that another whisk, and slowly add in some room temperature milk on about medium-low heat. And then I'm just going to cook that until it is thickened. It should take about 4 to 5 minutes. Now that my milk mixture is thickened, I'm going to slowly whisk in about a cup of grated cheddar cheese. You can use whatever is your favorite, that is fine. Just add that in a little bit at a time so that way it doesn't clump up and burn on the bottom. Just whisk it up until it's nice and thickened, and you can pour this into a serving bowl.
Kinda simple, but like a pistol. You fire. Sometimes you get under.
Alright guys, here is the spread. I just have the cheese sauce here, the beef and bean burritos, some extra tomatillo salsa. I call it tomatillo salsa, but it's salsa verde. I have some lettuce, black olives, some tomatoes. I made some salsa, And I have some homemade sour cream here, but you can dress this up however you like. So I'm going to go ahead and make our plates, and I will show you our plates. Alright, here is my plate. I have the beef and bean burrito here. I added some cheese sauce and salsa to the top of that. My fiesta potatoes here, I topped that with a little bit of cheese sauce, salsa, and sour cream. I also have a side of lettuce, tomatoes, pickled onions, and black olives. But yeah, I could not finish all of this. This was very filling, but it was absolutely delicious. So I will leave all of the links to these recipes in the description box below so you can check those out. But yeah, this is what we had for dinner tonight. For dinner tonight, my daughter requested steak bites. Now, in my bowl here, I have some beef tips. Now, if you don't want to use beef tips, you can cut up a roast into 2" by 2" cubes and add them to your bowl. So you're just going to add some neutral oil, salt, pepper, and some Southwest blend. Now, the Southwest blend that I use is kind of on the spicy side, but you can use whatever kind of Southwest blend that you prefer, or you can make your own. So I've just got that in the bowl here. I'm going to mix that up. I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to let this marinate for about 30 minutes to an hour. In the meantime, I'm going to prep my squash and onions for my side dish. Now I'm going to start on my squash side dish. It's very simple. To my skillet here, I just added a little bit of avocado oil, my squash, and some diced onions. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, and I'm going to let this cook on medium-low heat for about 10 minutes, stirring occasionally so they don't get burned on the bottom.
Baby, you can't deny.
Now, after it has cooked for 10 minutes, I'm going to go in and add the remaining of my ingredients. I'm going to add in some Cavenders, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and some parsley. I'm going to mix this around, and I'm going to continue to cook this on medium-low heat for another 10 to 15 minutes. If you want them softer, you can cook them longer. I like a little bit of a bite to my squash, so I just do about 10 to 15 minutes.
Baby, it's the best of dreams, yeah, and I don't wanna stop now. So baby, if I'm sleeping in, won't you pass me over? 'Cause baby, it's the best of dreams, yeah, oh baby, yeah.
So now I'm moving on to my steak bites. I have my skillet here over medium heat. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to add the beef tips, or the beef into the pan. I'm going to spread that out, and I'm going to leave them alone and let them sear on that side for about 2 minutes. Now that the beef has seared for 2 minutes, I'm going to add in some minced garlic, lemon zest, and a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And then I'm going to toss this around and let this cook for an extra minute. If you want it cooked a little bit more well done, cook it for about 3 more minutes.
'Cause baby, it's the best of dreams, yeah, and I don't wanna stop.
Now that that's done, I'm going to turn my heat off. I'm going to add in my green onions, lemon juice, and parsley. I'm going to toss that around, and then I'm going to add this to a serving plate, and then dinner is ready to be served.
You got me, you got me, singing my heart out. I can't stop.
Alright, here is my plate. I have the lemon garlic steak bites here, as well as the squash and onions. I also added a slice of whole wheat bread with a little bit of butter. that was a perfect addition to this dinner. I also added some A1 steak sauce. Now, if you are a steak sauce lover, let me know in the comments down below what is your favorite brand. So yeah, but anyways, this is what we had for dinner tonight, and it was absolutely delicious. Wrapping up this week, I am going to be making some sourdough brownies. I absolutely love these brownies. They are so easy to make. Plus, if you want to learn how to make your own starter, I will leave the link to my recipe to make your own starter. So that will be in the description box below as well. So starting out, to my pan here, I'm just adding some butter and some chocolate chips over medium-low heat, and I'm going to stir this around until everything is nice and combined and smooth. Now that I have the chocolate mixture sitting over to the side and it's cooling, I'm going to work on the dry ingredients. So to my bowl here, I just have some flour in it already. I'm going to add in some sugar, instant coffee granules, cocoa powder, and a little bit of salt. And I'm just going to mix this around until everything is nice and combined. To my dry ingredients, I'm going to add in my sourdough starter. You can use discard for this as well. I'm going to add in some eggs, vanilla, my chocolate mixture that has been cooled, and I'm going to mix this just until it's almost combined. I'm going to add in some toasted and cooled walnuts, and then I'm going to mix this up until it's just combined and add this into my prepared baking dish. So I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I've got a 9x9 inch baking dish that I've got greased and lined with parchment paper. I'm going to go ahead and add in my batter. I'm going to level that off, make sure it's all even and fits into the corners of the pan. I'm going to bake this for about 30 minutes. I like my brownies to be a little bit fudgy in the center, so 30 minutes is just fine for us. If you want it a little bit more cakey, you can cook them about 35 minutes. Once they are done cooking, you pull them out, let them cool in the pan for about 10 to 15 minutes, then transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely before cutting and serving. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section down below. I love talking with all of you. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.